inclusion begins with I and always needs you.
Yeah.
Look at the spelling of the word. It starts with I. We got to look at ourselves, right? Then we have to engage you. I have to engage you in order to really make sure that I'm creating the most inclusive space possible. If I'm not engaging others, then there's no opportunity for inclusion. So inclusion begins with I and always needs you. So I always try to leave with that message of the reality that we can't see the world fully if we don't engage others.
Welcome to Sheila's Take, your go-to podcast for thoughtful insights on love, faith, health, fitness, relationships, and navigating today's challenges through a spiritual perspective. Join me, Sheila Dunbar, as we explore various aspects of life with a mindful and godly approach. Tune in for engaging discussions on all things meaningful and transformative. Welcome back to Sheila's Take, and I'm thrilled to welcome a truly inspiring guest to our podcast today, Ms. Delphia Howze. Delphia is a powerhouse in the world of diversity and inclusion, known for her visionary leadership and commitment to helping organizations tap into human capital to build inclusive workplaces. With over 20 years of experience, she's the CEO and founder of DEI Howze Solutions, LLC, and has earned her reputation as the inclusion strategist. Delphia knows what it takes to drive and change environments where everyone can thrive. She's not just an expert, she's a thought leader who's on the brink of publishing her new book, including you, Leading Inclusion from Where You Are. So let's get ready for an enlightening conversation that's sure to inspire growth and understanding. Welcome. How are you?
I am fantastic. So happy to be here. So happy to spend some time with you and get to share some dialogue with you.
Yes. I thank you so much. And, you've had such an impressive career spanning over 20 years in HR and D&I, right? What inspired you to focus on diversity and inclusion? And how did you get started in this field?
Yeah, that is a fantastic question.
I try to ask them sometimes.
What inspired me? I did not, when I went to college, this wasn't even on the radar. This is not work that was on the radar. I was, had in my mind that I was going to become the most high powered attorney in the land, right? And once I made my way to law school, I realized, well, that's not going to work. So, had to pivot a little bit.
Mhm.
And I'm perfectly okay with that, settled in my soul. But I got into the field of banking. And banking was, where I started my career in human resources and through being a bank officer. And something that I recognized as I was in the role of HR and bank leadership, I realized pretty early that we as a bank were missing opportunities to actually connect and tap into the communities for which we were in. It was impacting our bottom line, our ROI, all of those things. And, my question was why? Why are we seeing these challenges? And what I began to realize is that we were in urban settings. And we had many of my locations were in urban settings. The individuals who were leading the branches were not from that background. So there was a disconnect, not because people didn't want to connect, but they didn't know how to.
Right.
And so I started, doing some research and finally went to the president and said, hey, we have an issue and an opportunity. And here's what I think we could do is really begin to focus on how can we bridge the gap between these differences. And at the time, diversity and inclusion wasn't a big topic.
Yeah.
I may be showing my age on that one, but he said, Delphia, if it's that important to you, whatever, go ahead and do something about it. Okay.
Yes.
So that's kind of the worst thing that you can tell me is to go and do something that I have full range to do because I'm going to do it.
That's
And
right.
I started their very first diversity program, diversity training, I should say, diversity training. And, really fell in love with the work of helping people to just understand how to connect with one another and find those spaces of inclusion.
Do you I know you've worked across so many industries, retail, banking, government, energy, and more. What's the common challenge you see when it comes to building inclusive workplaces, no matter what the industry?
Yeah. I think the most common denominator is uh, fear of vulnerability, right? People are some in many organizations, um, individuals are waiting for someone to tell them what to do, right? To tell them how the culture should feel, to tell
Mhm.
them what that expectation is and what it should look like. And with absent HR or an executive leader or someone, a manager, whomever, saying, this is what we must do, people are left to their own vices to figure things out.
Mhm. Yeah.
And, I don't believe that people are inherently bad, but we as humans, we like things the way that we like things, right?
Yeah.
We gravitate towards people who are connected to us and we feel an affiliation and connection to based off of what we perceive to be like experiences.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can dismantle the opportunity to create inclusion. I think that's the common denominator, people just not being vulnerable or comfortable to take the lead.
To take the lead, yeah. What's going on in today, we got a lot going on today now, and I don't wanna get a lot on that topic, but what's one misconception that people have about diversity, inclusion that you wish you could change?
I wish that I could change can I give you two? I have two.
You can give me what? Give me as many as you want.
I have two that come to
Mhm.
mind for me. The first one is I wish that I could change the feeling and the perception that it's someone else's responsibility to do this, right? We all are living on this planet, in this
Yeah.
nation, in whatever city we're living in, etc. We are here together, right?
Mhm.
So
Yes.
we, as individuals, as humans, need to get to the mindset of human centric integrity to really find space to connect with one another and not point the finger and create that us versus them mentality. We do that so very easily. The other thing I wish that I could correct is the fact that we don't have commonality in terms of the words that we use. Right? So diversity, equity, and inclusion. If you ask 10 people what those individuals words mean to them, you're going to get 10 different answers
Mhm. Yeah.
because people come at it from their experience. Now translate that into in a workplace where there's generally expected to be a certain culture or a certain understanding.
Mhm.
Um, and people working towards the same agendas, same goals, etc. If we don't understand what we're talking about, then collectively, then how can we work together to achieve
Mhm.
something productive? If I'm sitting at my desk and my definition, if let's talk about sales. If I'm sitting at my desk talking about sales, and sales means, we are only selling widgets, the organization sells gidgets. And Paula, who's sitting in the desk next to me, is selling pencils, right? And so the definition does not match.
Right. Does not match. Yeah.
We've got to get to there's an opportunity for us um, to recognize that our words matter. They matter in a way that help us to find connection.
And I want to go back. You talked about like cultures. Let's talk about like creating cultures, like of belonging. What does belonging mean to you, and how can leaders make sure their teams feel it?
Mhm. Yeah, I think belonging, from my perspective, it means that I as an individual can show up as I am.
Mhm.
That doesn't mean I can show up in my flip-flops and my jammies and my hair undone, right?
Yeah.
After I roll out of bed, I should show up for the environment as I am as a person, as,
Mhm.
my core, right? So, um, and being able to do that, it's showing up and being in an environment that welcomes that, that creates a sense of belonging where I can connect with others who are likely doing the same, showing up as they are. Uh, and I was, I know a lot of people say, "Oh, well, take me as I am." Well, no, we can't take you as you are if you're coming in your jam. If you're, I work in HR. Trust me, I've had to have these conversations, right?
I
Like,
bet you have.
so there's
Yeah.
there's but for the person, for the skills and attributes that I can bring, and for the person who I truly am, being welcomed and valued. So belonging, that's what it means for me with regard to belonging. And how can managers have that? I think it's setting first of all, demonstrating, uh, modeling the behavior of acceptance
Mhm.
and of others who you may or may not interact with on a regular basis. And then also setting the standard and expectation that any behavior or activities that ostracize, discriminate, alienate, exclude other individuals will not be tolerated. Far too many times, I've engaged with managers who say, "Oh, well, I didn't want to offend anybody, or I didn't know what to say, or I didn't know how to
Mhm.
handle this
Yeah.
situation." From a management perspective, who's responsible for I'm sorry, for workplace culture, managers must be able to have those conversations to set the standards to say what is and what is not accepted.
Regardless of how uncomfortable they may be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's say someone who wants to champion inclusion in their workplace but doesn't have a formal D&I role. Where would they start?
Oh my gosh. It's so very simple, right? I love this question because people think, oh, I got to take courses. Oh, I got to go and do something. No, you don't. All you got to do is recognize this very basic element. Have you ever felt excluded? Right? I ask people,
Mhm.
have you ever in your life felt excluded, whether it was back in kindergarten, back
Yeah.
in high school, back in college, your first, or whatever the case? Have you ever felt that? Everyone has had that experience. The second question is, if you felt exclusion, how did it feel? Did it feel good? Was it challenging? 9 times out of 10, it was not a great experience. It did not make us feel good, and we could not the individuals could not produce their best work or even be their best self
Yeah.
because of that feeling of exclusion creates so much stress internally for us. So I think that first recognizing that we know what it feels like.
Mhm.
So therefore we shouldn't want others to feel that way.
Yeah.
Very basic, right? And if we don't want others to feel that way, then what responsibility can we take as an individual to welcome and open the doors for others. And it's just as simple as seeing people for who they are,
Right.
letting them be themselves first, instead of casting expectations on them based off of what we think they should be.
Mhm. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. But how do you handle resistance or pushback when it comes to implementing D&I initiatives?
Well, so you may or may not have noticed. I can talk a lot. I
Go
want to talk
ahead.
you
Go
down.
ahead. Go ahead.
But I think so. For me, I think for me to handle resistance, I have to understand where it's coming from.
Mm.
So I'm comfortable with asking those questions that others may not be comfortable with, uh, and because I ask myself the same question, right? I'm
Yeah.
human, right? I have my preferences, et cetera.
Right, right.
So I recognize that. So I handle it by allowing people, first of all, have your resistance. It's perfectly okay to have your resistance, but meet me in it doesn't have to be halfway. Maybe it's, a quarter of the way. Meet me somewhere
Mhm.
so that I can understand that resistance. Once I can understand it, then I can engage in dialogue with you to
Yeah.
to to see your point and hopefully to help you see mine. And I'm usually pretty successful with that, but it really starts with allowing people to be in the space that they're in and not casting any aspersions on them and telling them they're wrong, they're horrible people, they're bad, pointing the finger. You don't know their story,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So take time to learn from the other individuals, so that you can then begin to whittle down and break down those silos.
Mhm. Let's talk about your book. You have a you have a book. Did it come out yet or is it coming out?
Yes, it is out, and
Okay.
It came out the end of last year, at end of
Oh, okay.
2024, and the audiobook is now out.
Ooh, okay.
Yes, yes,
So the name of your book is Including You, Leading Inclusion from Where You Are. First of
yes.
all, that title sounds amazing. I just want to
Thank
know.
you. Thank you.
What inspired you to write it, and what's the biggest takeaway you hope readers can get from it?
Oh, yeah. So I was inspired to write Including You because, again, I've been in the space for
Mhm.
a long time. I've seen a lot of things.
Yeah.
And probably anyone in HR can say, I can write a story, I can make a movie out of all of the things, right? Because it's always so interesting. But with my, uh, bridging the two, human resources and inclusion, bridging those together, I've just seen a lot, and I've seen a lot of opportunity, and I've worked with a lot of leaders, executives, companies, individuals who actually have said, "Why don't you just write a book?
Yeah.
You just write a book." So this is in the making of like 5 years or so, and finally I said, you know what, let me just sit there and do it,
And do it.
and that's what I did. The biggest takeaway that I hope people get is that we all can stand for inclusion.
Mm.
Anyone can do it.
Yeah.
Anyone can do it, right? Including you, right?
Mhm.
That's the idea. It's not the responsibility of everyone else um, to help encourage an inclusive environment. We all can and should take responsibility for it.
Mhm. Yeah. Can you share like a practical tip or strategy from your book that anyone could start using today to promote inclusion in their workplace or even in their community?
Absolutely. Let's see one. So I think that a very basic one. If an individual wanted to, um, start a trend of inclusion in their workplace, model the behavior, right? So when new employees come in to the workplace, what do? Right? How many of us go over to or reach out to the new employee and say, "Hey, let's go out to lunch,"
Mm.
if it's not directed to us by, a practice or policy
Right,
within the
right.
organization, right? How many of us go over without going to them and say, "Hey, I need you to do XYZ because you're the new person and I need you
Mhm.
to work on
Yeah.
this project." But how about just go over and simply welcome them, learn about who they are, and then you can learn about how you can work with them a little more effectively. I can't tell you, I've worked in different industries, and I don't, because of, I don't say because, there have been many times that I've gone in as a new employee
Mm.
and have not had anyone reach out to me. Let's go to lunch. Let's connect. Let
Yeah.
me show you this. Let me show you how to. I had to figure a lot of things out on my own. Maybe because people assumed that I should know them because I was, in a leadership position. Maybe who knows what the reason was. I
Mhm.
can
Yeah.
probably come up with a number of it. But that did not help me to feel very welcome initially. And
Yeah.
oftentimes I would think, oh, is this even the right place for me? Should
I
I?
I know exactly what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So that's a small thing to do.
I know exactly what you're talking about. And I guess people we really don't even think about that. We don't even think about that. Now
Yeah.
you mentioned like the trend and what's one trend or innovation in the DNI space that you're most excited about right now?
Oh, right now, I'm gonna say something that may be a little controversial, right?
Go ahead.
The trend right now, the challenges that we have that are kind of going against the grain of DEI, right?
Yes.
And I believe there's reasons for that. I do believe that there's a reason that we're here in this space today, right? And I think that we haven't done the work to help people to understand what it really is,
Mhm.
value really is. And so because of that, those who don't understand it want to get rid of it.
I agree. I agree with that.
We
Definitely. Yes.
we haven't come together, when I say we, I mean black, white, green, purple,
Mhm.
yellow, short,
Mhm.
tall, all of that.
Yeah.
We haven't done that. And I think that that's so we're in this challenging landscape right now. But I think that's I think it sets the stage for good opportunity because now that requires many people in this space who do work around inclusion, even if they do work around DEI, even if they just do work around whatever part of it they do,
Mhm.
it requires them to now be strategic and focused and intentional about their work. So now, not saying that, that wasn't the intention or the work previously,
Mhm.
but now it's even more, uh, there's a greater necessity to implement strategic approaches to help people to understand what we're talking about, how they can engage if they want to, and how and what the benefits truly are. Um, so that's kind of for me light at the end of the tunnel, being able to get a baseline and a strategic approach to help create sustainable inclusion, right? Not just inclusion that we're checking the box and saying, okay, we did it, we're good,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
inclusion that is long standing, over time.
Mhm. You're also, a speaker and an educator. You are sought after keynote speaker. I just wanna put that out there, right? What's one message you always try to leave with your audience?
Ooh, that inclusion begins with I and always needs you. It's simple as that.
I like
You look
that.
at the spelling of the word, it starts with I. We got to look at ourselves,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
And then we have to engage you. I have to engage you in order to really make sure that I'm creating the most inclusive space possible. If I'm not engaging others, then there's no opportunity for inclusion. So inclusion begins with I and always needs you. So I always try to leave with that message of the reality that we can't see the world fully if we don't engage others.
Who or what has been your biggest inspiration in your career and why?
Biggest inspiration. Oh, mm, I will say that my 22-year-old daughter. So
Wow, okay.
we have one baby, right? She's 22.
Mhm.
I've always said this, and I've said this in many of my keynotes, probably all of them. I know my why. I know why I'm doing this work, and it is because of her.
Mhm.
So she just graduated from college.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Mhm.
In May of last year, but
Mhm.
she's still recently a recent grad. Um, but my why has always been with the realization that she is going to get out into the workforce. She better get out into the workforce, but she has. That was always my thought. She better get out into the workforce. But I wanted her to be accepted who she is, the
Mhm.
skills that I know
Yeah.
she's a
Yeah.
smart girl. Of course, I'm her mom. I'm going to say she's
Mhm.
beautiful and all of that. But I don't want her to go into a workplace and be um, given or have opportunities given to her or taken away from her just because of how she
Yeah.
presents.
Yeah.
That to me is,
Mhm.
you know, not acceptable. So I do this work so that she and her, her friends of her
Mhm.
generation, et cetera, can be able to be who they are and be successful as the person that they are.
Do you think now in this climate, it will be harder for them?
Um, I hope that it won't. I think this climate presents a different challenge than what I've
Mhm.
seen. I
Okay.
don't know that it will be harder because these young ones are a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hear my daughter's mouth coming at me all the time, right? So they are this generation that's entering the workforce is in the workforce.
Mhm.
They are very intolerant of shenanigans,
Yeah.
right? They
Yeah.
know what they want. They know what they expect. And if you think about it, this generation has been caught, I'll say coddled a bit, right? So they know how it feels to feel good. They know
Mhm.
what it feels like to be valued and
Yeah.
cared.
Mhm.
And I don't think that they are willing to go into environments or workplaces if that feeling is not uh, a reality for them
Mhm.
in some
Yeah.
ways. I don't think it'll be hard. I think it will be different. They'll have to navigate it differently
Mhm.
than old people like me have to.
What's one piece of advice you wish you had earlier in your career?
Um, I wish someone would have told me to be, to just
Be.
be who I am. I went into the workforce. My parents didn't go to college. They weren't in, uh, corporate settings. That was
Mhm.
their job.
Right.
My dad was a meat cutter. Right? So uh,
Mhm.
I I wish someone would have told me that it's okay to go in and be who you are, right? I thought that I had to navigate and shift and you know act and behave in different ways that were unfamiliar to me,
Mhm.
and uncomfortable for me. But I thought, okay, well, that's how you get to the next level. Do I need to? And I wish someone would have told me that earlier on in my career to just be right now. Again, don't be in your pajamas, and you know, but uh, I know people talk about code switching, and it's terrible to code switch. I don't disagree. I don't agree with that
Mhm.
because my belief is there's a time and a place for everything.
Yes. Yes.
Time and a place, right?
Yes. Yes. We
So
must be from the same era. Well, when we finish this, we're gonna have to talk because I think we're from the same era.
yes, yep, I would love it. But think about what it
Yeah.
so when we were younger, I'm just gonna say, I mean, you're much
Mhm.
younger than me, but you know, when we were living at home with our parents, right? And we got to teenage years and we're out hanging with our friends, shooting cool talk and doing all these things, right? Did you come home and talk that way to your mother? No
No way.
way.
No way.
So you had to code switch or
Yes.
risk
Yes.
getting,
Well,
reprimanded.
yes. Yes.
So we've been doing it. It's not a bad thing. Again, it's a time and a place for
Mhm.
everything. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yes. As a chief inclusion officer and CEO of your own consulting firm, how do you personally recharge and stay motivated while doing such impactful but often challenging work?
Yeah. I recharge. I do take time and I just disconnect.
Yeah.
I disconnect. I won't watch the news. I do that kind of now I got to catch up on it once I
Right.
do that. But I'll disconnect. Am I disconnecting opportunity? I'm either at the beach or in my garden. Those are my two opportunities to disconnect. And I can, my husband laughs at me because I can go out into my garden at, 6 a.m., 5:30 a.m. in the morning and not come in the house until, like 8 o'clock or 9. I just love being out there in the
Yeah.
dirt,
Yeah.
doing things. Like, yeah.
Yeah. It's nice to turn off. Mine is just like, I love gospel music and I love to just I'll work out also, but to just put some headphones on and just listen to my gospel music and close my eyes. That's how I kinda, like, just reset and,
Yeah. And you
just
need
think
it,
about
right?
yeah, you need because there's so much going on in the world. You need, like, sometimes I even see myself sometimes. I can't I gotta turn off the news because I can't watch that.
Yep.
But, yeah. Where do you see the future of diversity and inclusion heading in the next 5 to 10 years?
Mm, 5 to 10 years. I think once we get over this hurdle of um, the disdain for the very sounds of the word,
Yeah.
right? Once we get over that, I think that we'll be in a better place. I
Mhm.
think we'll be in a place um, where the terminology um, and the actions aligned to it are intentional, or are are consolidated in a way that we now know that we're talking about the same things, right?
Yes.
We're not just talking about women. We're not just talking about race. We're not just talking
Mhm.
about, we're talking about, we're defined it. It's more
Yes.
defined. So that's my hope and my expectation because, like I said, I think that we're at a point where we've got to be strategic. And if we're strategic and intentional, then in the next 5 to 10 years, we should be in a space where um, inclusion is a reality,
Mhm.
and not a force,
Yes.
right? A forced effort.
Mhm. Yeah. Ooh. What's one change you hope to see in workplaces globally when it comes to inclusion and equity?
Oh yeah, that's so globally. So I work with uh, a number of international organizations, and um, the every country has their own challenges, right? Uh, some it's how to get women into the workplace, and how do we help women to be
Mhm.
respected? How do we, there's different things. I think globally, my hope is that we can is that we're not even talking about it.
Mhm.
Is that we're really not even. I like to work myself out of a position,
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
Whereas this is just the way that we are. This is
Mhm.
how we are connecting. This is
Right.
how we're valuing one another, and it's happening seamlessly.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's what I would hope. I mean, we have wars going on here, there, and everywhere. And why? Right? When we think about the fact that it's human. We're human, right? So again, getting to that human centric integrity and valuing what that is and what it means uh, globally, I think
Mhm.
we'll be in such a better place. But we gotta let go of some egos, and we gotta let go of some, a lot of
A
things.
lot of things. Yeah, yeah. Delphia, what are you grateful for?
Oh my, I am just grateful for the opportunity to be me.
Mhm.
That might sound so corny, but
No.
I really am. I have been, and I'm looking up, I have been committed to be who I am,
Mhm.
uh, you know, in all of my settings, all of my environments, and be accepted,
Mm.
who I am.
Yeah.
And when in those situations when I am not, when I feel that I may not be accepted in that manner, I've been afforded the 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 latitude and the wherewithal and the knowledge of how to help people to understand how to
Mm.
accept.
Yeah.
And that, you know, uh, just permitted to be me.
Mm. That's a blessing. That's a blessing. If my listeners want to reach out, if someone wants you to come in and speak and motivate them and teach them on diversity and inclusion, how can they get in touch with you?
Yes, they can reach me on my website, which is
Mhm.
D as in Dave,
Mhm.
Howze, Howze, solutions.com, dhowsolutions.com. They can reach me there. You can, it connects, yeah, you can definitely connect me there. That would probably be the best space. I will tell you, I'm on LinkedIn. I don't do all of the platforms because I'm old and I don't have time to figure out all.
Oh my, we gotta figure out how old you. We gonna see how old you are because I have a funny feeling we're around the same age. But we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about that.
Yes,
Um.
LinkedIn is the only platform I'm on, and I think I'm the only Delphia Howze on there. So
Okay. And your book, where can they get your book? Is on your website or is it on Amazon?
yes, they can find my book on my website at
Mhm.
thehealthsolutions.com. They
Okay.
can also find it on Amazon, uh, under including you leading inclusion from where you are, or under my name. Uh, it's also in various bookstores. Um, and I'm trying to think where else. It's on audiobook. Yeah.
Okay, audiobook, right. Okay. Do you have any closing thoughts or reflections you'd like to share?
And the only I first of all, I want to say it's been such an honor and pleasure to sit here and talk with you. I
Thank
really enjoyed this
you.
conversation, but
Thank
I
you.
think that the biggest thing I would love for people to take away is that mindset that uh, the responsibility of inclusion resides with the individual.
Mm, yeah.
It's as simple as that, and we can sit and wait for someone to point and tell us what to do, and we'll never get any closer to it. Um, we need to listen to ourselves. shine a flashlight on ourselves and
Mhm.
do some self adjusting sometimes. Sometimes we
Yes.
don't, it's uncomfortable. We don't like to do that, but we're
We
not
gotta
perfect.
we gotta do it.
Yes, yes, yes. And just remember that inclusion begins with I always need you.
Ooh, ooh, I like that. I like that. Well, Miss Delphia Howze, I thank you for sharing your incredible insights on diversity, inclusion, and leadership. I don't know about you, but I feel so inspired. I want to take action and create some more inclusive spaces in my own life. Because I realize I don't have them. To my listeners, if you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss one episode of Sheila's Take. And hey, if you know someone who's passionate about D&I and just needs a little inspiration, share this episode with them. Reach out to Delphia Howze. It might be exactly what they need.
Yeah.
Or leave us a like or a review. It really helps us out. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, let's keep building workplaces and communities where everyone feels like they belong. Thank you. This is Sheila's Take. Blessings. Until next time, remember to embrace the journey, build lasting connections, and step boldly into all that life has in store for you. I'm your host, Sheila Dunbar. Blessings to you.